Again, good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm excited about this topic. Brooks, welcome. Combining
Hi.
the schedule. Hi.
Hi.
The
Good morning.
schedule and business plan is not a topic we talk about it, but it's not a main
Hi.
focus that we've ever
Do
had.
you have time for 2 pedicures?
We know where Mackenzie is. Enjoy your pedicure, Mackenzie. Um, it's something we talk about, and it's still something that a lot of us challenge is the wrong word, because you all know how to work your schedule some of the time, but making it most of the time, right, is a goal that we always have. And Kelly and I, and guys, Kelly, I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. We just started working together this summer. Gosh, was it late spring actually, leading up to the summer, Kelly, now that I'm thinking about it. Um, and she's made this great transition, and I want to get into it, Kelly, because that has a lot to do with where your schedule is now. Um, but one day recently we were talking schedule, and Kelly flipped her screen around because, like some of you, I said, "Show me your schedule. What do you got?" And I don't know. I guess I had house eyes, right? You know, when the clients walk in and they realize this is the house. I saw the schedule. I'm like, we are so sharing this topic with people, how we fit it all in. So I'm very excited to have this topic at hand. I have a lot of questions. I don't know if we'll get to them all. So I'm going to let Kelly go, and you guys are going to have a bunch of questions. So we're going to have a conversation. We're going to go back and forth, ask some questions. We'll do Q&A through and at the end. And then I have some thoughts that I'll throw in along the way. But Kelly, give us your story.
Oh boy.
Start with where you were before August, what you were doing when we met, and then we can build up to where we are today.
Yeah, sure. I'm Kelly Bigsby. I'm out of Castle Rock, Colorado, which is south of Denver. So Denver metro area specifically. I started coaching with Dawn in April, actually, of last year. And at that time, I was with a different brokerage than I am now. And I was running a team of 30 agents at that time. So I was coaching them, acting as managing broker, therapist, all the things. We were part of the flex team then. And so really heavy on leads management and whatnot. So weekly team meetings, one-on-one meetings with everybody on the team on a regular basis, group meetings, classes. I mean, it was just constant. And so I made the switch from doing that. I decided, and it was pretty lucrative, to be quite frank, from a financial standpoint. But all of my financial benefit relied on other people's success and not so much my own. I was doing a little bit of personal business still, but just things that would flow in. I wasn't doing any prospecting or anything like that. And so through coaching with Dawn and a lot of discussion on making a move, I decided to leave that brokerage and leave that team structure and not have a team anymore, and essentially go to being my own. I'm with the brokerage, but under my own I'm under their umbrella, if you will. But it's me, myself, and I. My husband's licensed too, but it's just me. And now I'm doing my own business, focusing solely on that, and had to transition to actually doing the things that I was teaching for a really long time, which is sounds like that would be really simple, but it's actually really, really tough to go from teaching, advising, guiding to, oh, shoot, I have to do all these things myself. And now I have to time block. Now I have to prospect. And I was not doing that previously. So now here I am currently at my new brokerage. I've been here since August of this year, and it's gone really, really well. So having to transition into essentially being a manager to going back to my own practice, if you will, that was challenging. And time blocking and scheduling and all that is a huge component of that for me in my life, along with mindset. But
Love
that's
it.
kind of like a nutshell, if you will. I have 5 kids.
Very
3 of them are under the age of 6. And I have a husband who travels very frequently, usually twice a month. He's gone for an entire week for his work as well. And so scheduling and having that dialed in is non-negotiable for my life. So I'm really excited about this topic. It's
Yes. Yes. I
uh,
love it. Okay.
foundation.
Can we, how do you manage? I mean, five kids, a real estate practice, a wife to the same guy for a long time now. How long you been married?
We've been married for 16 years and together for much longer than that.
I love it. I love it. Let's start with the how. How do you manage that daily schedule to balance that real estate career, the transition, personal life, and all the family commitments that you have?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's totally a mindset piece, right? Dawn knows that mindset, morning routine, that whole thing is, I mean, it is instrumental to anyone's life, in my opinion. When I left my team, the very last meeting we had was about if you took nothing else from our time together over the last several years, except for the fact that you have to have a morning routine. You can forget everything else that I taught you, which was a long time. You can forget all of that. If you don't have a morning routine and you don't have a schedule, you're really just setting yourself up for failure. And so for me, having that schedule, having those time blocks that include family time, my time blocks include the drop off time that I have for my kids in the morning or breakfast time. I know it sounds silly and a little too detailed maybe sometimes, but it's there in my calendar, and knowing that and following it every week, having a meeting with myself on a weekly basis to fine tune the week, because the blocks are always there consistently, but we know that things come up, and kids get sick, and
Yeah,
yeah.
Kelly, hold on. You said something very, very imperative. I want everybody to get that. Did you say you have a meeting with yourself every week? Talk about that when it comes to
Yeah,
schedule.
on my calendar, Sunday evening after the kids go to bed, I have a business meeting with myself. And so essentially it's an hour long. I sit down, and for that week, I go through all the things that I need to do. And granted, those are relative to my quarterly goals, my monthly goals, my yearly goals as well. And so I go through my physical calendar, which I use Google as my calendar source, and all the blocks that I already have in place are all always there all the time, every single week. But within those blocks, either I move them because they have to get moved, and that's tough to do sometimes, but I move them or I detail them. So I have an admin block. And maybe this coming week or last week, actually, my admin block was specific to holiday gifts on a daily basis, the delivery of those, the creation of those. And so I'll detail that within the calendar for that week. So that's what happens during the business meeting for myself. I'll be frank, sometimes I sit down in a business meeting and I'm not motivated. And I'm like, this is going to be a crappy week. And it's
You can
not a
call
great
it a
business
shit
meeting.
show.
It
They're
doesn't
all
always,
adults. It's okay.
right. It doesn't always go as perfectly as it's sounding coming out of my mouth, but the intention is there. The intention is set. I think that's the most important thing. People are always like, how do I start having a schedule like that? Just put the blocks there and then see what happens and have a meeting with yourself. And um, yeah,
I
it's not
love it.
perfect.
I love
Sure.
it. What what other tools or techniques do you use? And guys, I'm not staring off. I have my big screen over here with my questions. What other tools or techniques are you using right now to prioritize? 'Cause I know one of the things that many people on this call and I talk about are, prioritizing, taking those 23,000 things that we have on the to-do list and prioritizing that aren't the I got to go sign a contract right now, right? Because we all know how to prioritize clients and deals. But what else do you do, or what other tools do you use to prioritize?
Um, I think we can get overwhelmed with technology and the tools and checklists and all that we can kind of have at our fingertips on our phone. But for me, and what I found most helpful for most people, is I always had called it eyes up motivation. And for me, that means whatever I'm doing on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, I can see it with my eyes every day. If I turn my computer right now 90 degrees to the left, you would see a board on my wall that has all the things listed that I'm talking about on it. And then at my home office, there's this same thing. And then if I have really fine, like really important, like to this week, this day goals, they go on a little sticky note on my computer. And so the idea is that I see it all the time. Sometimes I put them on my bathroom mirror. If I have something like my goal for next year from a transaction basis scares me just a little bit, but it's on my bathroom mirror. So every single day I look at it at least 2 or 3 times a day. I see it with my eyes. It gets imprinted into my brain. And subsequently, my actions are going to be reflective of what I can see with my eyes at all times. I think that is of utmost importance. If you can't see your goals, if you can't see your tasks, if you don't even have a calendar, which I know a lot of people who don't function on a calendar, I just don't understand how you can be constantly inputting those things in your brain, which is the most important part of it all.
Great. But what did you call it? Eyes up
Eyes up motivation. So
motivation?
meaning I can always see what it is. I work out eyes up motivation things too. Like if I have a workout goal or nutrition goal or whatever it is, anything, even goals of like spending time with my kids. Cause sometimes I get too far into work and I'm like, oh, wait, just pump the brakes. I need to spend an additional 30 minutes, no screen time with Ben this week. And I put that in the eyes of motivation, or else we just forget because we're so busy and there's so much going on. It's too hard.
Love that. I love that. Okay. Um, since we're talking about business plan and time management, and this is I thought about this a couple days ago, guys, and I text Kelly. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, good. We're talking marketing plan. We're talking new initiatives. We're talking for many people, there's help, and for some of the people here, they are the marketing person, just like you are, Kelly, right now as we're growing this. How do you implement the business plan, the marketing plan, the strategies, the tightening up? Where does that show up in your calendar, or does it, is it separately tracked? How do you implement the business plan into your time management?
Tuning this now because remember, I've only really been doing this myself since August. And so this is a work in progress for me. But what I think is most important is tracking the numbers, right? And something we were very good at on a team basis, like how many calls, how many letters, how many open houses, how many mailers did you send? And so you can see your return. And so for me, that's so new that that's it, just in the tracking process. And I'm using an Excel spreadsheet for that right now. I'd like to fine tune that. We had Sisu when I was back with my other brokerage, and I loved that platform. And I know CTE is kind of a simpler version of Sisu, but I think tracking your numbers is super important. And again, that business meeting, like when you talk about how do you get it all done, is okay, well, this week, like I said, last week was holiday gifts and or the week before. And so it's I have to deliver this many on this day. And you kind of have to like walk that out in your calendar. But it's just me, myself, and I right now. So that's definitely a work in progress.
So Kelly, we were talking about like mailings and emails that aren't necessarily automated. How do you just throw that in your calendar as a daily task, or is it on a to-do list? Or how do you make sure you're not missing the marketing? Let's talk about that specifically.
Both. It depends on the platform. I schedule out my social media marketing, so that's helpful as I do it at a month at a time. So I schedule almost all of my posts, with the exception of some videos and obviously my stories go out or scheduled at the first of every month for the entire month.
Are
And
they
so
auto posted or just scheduled?
they auto post, yeah, through my brokerage's platform. So I can put things on there and have them auto post, with a connection to Instagram and Facebook and all of that. So that's super helpful. That's more of an automation piece. The mailer stuff, again, a work in progress for me, but it mostly goes in my eyes up section with check boxes. I'm a little bit old school when it comes to probably type A. My previous background is in nursing and medicine. And so very type A, very almost to a fault, to be quite frank. But very checkbox oriented. So like every day I have checklists and there's checklists up there. And so when I start a campaign, I'll checklist the whole thing out so that I know that I'm not missing anything. Also, I really utilize tags in Follow Up Boss really well, I think, because we had to do it with the team. And so when I start people on mailers, I'll set up an action plan for them and tag them. And so the follow up boss will signal me to send out or start the next mailer or whatever it is that I'm planning. So any campaign that I've had, which I've only done two, to be really honest, since August. But both of those, I created an action plan and follow up boss for. And so that's how it doesn't get missed, if you will, because the action plan will alert me a task or whatever is involved, or even send out the email that if there is an email as a part of it. But creating that action plan takes a lot of time. And I hope to like hire that out at some point because it is time consuming. But again, it's on my calendar. It's admin time. It's, time to get those things done.
I love that. I love that. Guys, Kelly keeps smiling about, I hope to delegate this out. I hope to hire this out because we made a pinky promise that she would not start a team. What did we say? 90 days, 6 months? What did we say, Kelly?
Yeah, 6 months. We
6
said
months.
6 months.
Coming off the situation she had,
Yeah.
rebuilding this, I said, nobody else involved. This is you and me. And so that's the smirk. I just wanted to make that a public announcement, Kelly. Good job. You're living up to your end of the bargain, but I know it's time. I know it's time. Do you have any, and guys, if you have any questions, please jump in here. Do you have any recommendations for books or seminars or anything that have helped you along the way? Because Kelly, I mean, I got to say it, I'm sure everybody would agree, as non-perfect as I know it is, it still sounds like the system is there, the intention is there, pretty structured. Where does that come from? Did you learn that somewhere? Are there any resources you can share?
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty type A, so it's probably baked in my personality a little bit, which I know it's not baked in everybody's personality, and that's okay because your strengths are somewhere else that I don't have. But mindset is huge for me. And so things like the miracle morning, and that's specifically for real estate agents, because to be honest, if you've read both, the real estate agent one is just like a case study relative to the original book. So the original book's totally fine. And just I think sometimes we think this is so simple, what we're talking about, that we overlook it and we overlook the importance of it. So miracle morning, really spending some time in affirmation, visualizations, reading, scribing, those types of things. If I miss it, my family asks me, hey, did you do your miracle morning this week? Because something is kind of off for you. So starting off with that, I think is most important. So that book is really helpful. There's a great app that goes along with it. Atomic Habits is a great book. I think we've all been recommended to read at some point or another, which is another just way to start these little things and how to make them super effective. Knowing your why, Simon Sinek's book on I can't, what's the name of it? Something about your why.
Start with why, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really great because again, it's all about mindset. At the end of the day, if you're doing scheduling and time blocking, you don't even know why, like it's not going to stick, it's not going to last. And so really going back to the fundamentals of mindset, habits, and knowing why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, it really just starts there, I think.
What a great answer. Great answer. Okay. What are common mistakes and pitfalls that you've seen as a leader and experience on your own, trying to balance the schedule and business plan? Because we've talked about all those agents you were coaching, and guys, they were doing hundreds of transactions. Rare, very well, you're doing a lot of what I do with agents here on this and my agents in my office. What have you seen? Where have you seen it go wrong, and how to avoid those maybe?
I think, again, the simplicity of what we're talking about is sometimes the downfall because I think everybody says, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I understand how important mindset is. Yeah, I need to straighten up my calendar. We don't actually, or yeah, I need to visualize. I used to make my team visualize. We used to sit there with music and I would guide them, and they thought it was funny, and some people really uncomfortable, but it works. It really works. And I think that people overlook the simplicity and the fact that these are such simple, not easy, they're simple things to do to implement into your personal life and your work life that can make an enormous impact. And so that I think is the biggest downfall, probably. Um, and then I would say that's the biggest thing is people just don't understand how impactful it is because they think it's either silly or they already know that. Um, and then
Okay,
just doing it. And that's the biggest thing, I think.
I love it.
And I would say, when it comes to like what are some of the downfalls, life is a down, life happens. Like I said, kids get sick and throw off your entire week, or the market in your area is really just taking a beating on you. And so it makes you stop doing the things on a daily basis that you should be doing because, oh, it's November and December now, and nothing's really going to happen until January, February anyway. So, I don't really need to study the market today, that kind of thing. And again, that goes back to mindset, which is, again, what I was just talking about. So
Yeah, that's
that's
such a good
for sure.
answer to the schedule, at all mindset, because without that being right, none of it matters, and we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off anyways.
Yeah.
But really going back and getting knocked off track. I know many of us, no names to be named by this guy, but many of us, we get knocked off track, and then now it's next Thursday, just like that, and none of what we scheduled or wanted to get done actually gets done. And having the mindset once you get knocked off track to get right back on the schedule, skip those time blocks or move those time blocks and get right back to work. I think that's critical. And
Yeah.
very, very difficult to do if the intentionality and the why and the mindset's not there. Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer. Um, I have a few other things, but I want to hear from anybody else. Any questions for Kelly? How are you doing with your time management? Love to hear from those of you brave enough to tell me. Or any other thoughts with business planning and calendar from y'all? Go for it.
Yeah, so I think it's really awesome when she mentioned that, like, sometimes her weekly meeting with herself or whatever it was gets moved, and that's okay. And I think it's really important to note your personality style when you're doing these things. So for me, like blocking my time where every day is the same, and this is I do this I do that, this time I do that, that would drive me absolutely bonkers. Like I
Yeah.
would want to cut my eyes out. But putting the appointment in to know that that's a priority, and it's okay to move it as long as I'm moving it. I can't delete it. I can't get rid of it. If I need that spot for something else, then I'm just going to move it. I think that's a really important thing to look at here. And that anything we learn, we need to adapt to our personalities.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great point.
Speaking of, that's a really actually powerful point, is another book that I used to make people read is The Five Voices. And I don't remember who it's by, but really important to recognize we all are one of five voices, and recognizing what your voice is and what your tendencies are. And how they're powerful and detrimental to you in your life. And then also recognizing other people's voices so you know how to speak to them, how to relate to them, that sort of thing is really important because like Joe just said, if I flipped my screen and showed you my calendar, Joe wants to have a heart attack because that doesn't work for him. So don't do it that way. And forcing Joe or Don forcing Joe to do a calendar like Kelly Bigsby is just not going to work, right? And so recognizing your voice and what your tendencies are, what your emotions are about around things like that, how to fix them or not, how to become mature in your voice is really, really important.
Awesome. I just found it on Audible by you guys. By the way,
Yeah.
guys, I don't even think I had to pay for it on Audible or use a credit. So thank you for the recommendation. That's awesome. Joe, and that's the same thing. It's the schedule, right? Kelly and I bonded at a different level about our love of time blocks and colors in the schedule. But Joe, the other side, it's like iOS versus the other kind of phones, right? The operating system. It's the list, right? It's the important stuff there so you can move them. And then in between, I mean, there's these things to do between now and this time, knock them all off the list. That's another way that people get a lot done. But if you don't have it on the schedule, you don't have the opportunity to move it. So most of the time it just gets missed or avoided or eliminated altogether. So great insight. By the way, I know one human that works at a pretty great level that uses zero schedule. I've known him since junior high. We played little league
Yeah.
together. If he gets bonked in the head, he's done. But that's the only person I know in my life. He has triplet girls. I don't know how he
Yeah.
does it. He knows my first phone number as we were kids. Wild and no schedule. That I don't understand how that works. I know most of you pretty darn well though. None of you are Mike. I can promise you that. So don't even try it. With love. With love. Okay. What else, guys? What else is going on? What's going on in your mind?
It's a scary place, Don. It's a scary place.
Apparently so, yes. A dark, scary place right now. It's all good. It's all good.
I have mine totally written out for next year. We'll see if I follow it.
Well, Kelly's only an hour away. She's closer than me. I'll send her to you, man. Watch it. Follow that
Have
thing.
The rest of this year I'm off.
Yeah, I know. We know the rest of your schedule. You two
Yeah.
would be great accountability partners down the road from each other. I'm just saying. But don't talk to Charles until after the 26th.
don't worry.
Yeah, talk to him after the 26th. Yeah.
Ugh.
I just had some other, as you're thinking about your questions, guys, and listen, we're okay, right? If you guys want to go early, we'll go early. So we'll go as long as you want here. You guys all know about the big rock theory, right? When it comes to schedule. Does anybody not know the big rock theory? Please raise your hand. I have a great video on it, and that'll be a little longer. It's on YouTube. Oh, love this. Most of you have seen this. If you haven't seen this, please let me explain. Kelly, you know exactly what this is. So there's this professor, and he's standing in front of his class. And he has this empty glass pitcher, and he proceeds to fill it up with these big rocks all the way from the bottom to the top. And he asks his class, "Is the pitcher full?" And they all yell out, "Yes." He says, "Interesting," and grabs a pitcher of pebbles and he pours the pebbles and they settle in between the big rocks. And he asks the class again, "Is this full?" Half says yes, half the class says no. He then pulls up a cup of sand and pours the sand in and the sparkly stuff, and it all settles in and it all fills up. And now he asks the class, "Is this full?" And of course, they all resoundingly yell no. He says, "Right." And he pours out a cup of water and fills up the rest of the pitcher with water. And the lesson here, the thought is, this is our calendar. And these big rocks are the important things in our life, our kids, our spouses, our time by ourselves, in our business world, our appointments, our money-making activities, prospecting, following up, leading our team. What would happen if we put the glass of water in first? Right? Or the sand and the water, and then try to put the big rocks in. Right? It either overflows or doesn't fit anymore because all the little stuff is taking up the space. This is our calendar, the sand, and the sparkly stuff, represents the stuff that just shows up, and some of it's got to be done, but it's not urgent and important. And if the big rocks aren't in first, the rest of it doesn't fit in. And of course, the water represents the fact that there's always time for a beer with a friend. It all fits as long as we put it in the right order. And the important things in our calendar, the big rocks in our calendar have to go in first. And then the rest of the world, the rest of the things. It's funny, in real estate, it always finds space. It always works as long as the important items are in there first. Right. And I love that, Kelly. My family's first, my time's first every morning. Your schedule, I've seen it, it's set up the same exact way. So my encouragement, and a lot of us have talked about every 90 days, we should be looking at taking our schedule to zero and rebuilding it anyways, right? Make sure when you do that, your important big rocks go in first. Grandbabies, Lisa, new grandbabies go in right after you time, right? Absolutely. Those things need to be in, and every one of you has a different schedule. Every one of you have different big rocks. And somehow after those go in the calendar, all the little things, all the minor things still fit in, and there's time for those if we plan accordingly. So, yes.
As you know, I hate using a calendar because it overwhelms me.
Yes.
Do you guys have actual examples that I can look at? Because it just, like I said, it overwhelms me. So when I see, like, I think of everything, every small little thing, and then I just like, okay, never mind, I'm not doing it. So like Kelly said, I'm one of those people that I know where I need to be on a daily basis. I know what stuff I have to get done. I just don't use a calendar. So
Kelly, would you like to share your a week of your calendar by chance?
Sure, can I share? Let me see if I can.
Absolutely, you can. I love putting you on the spot.
Well, okay, here's my calendar, right?
Oh my
This is
God.
this week.
Do not
And
pass out,
again, this
Melissa
is
or
like
Joe.
really overwhelming, I think, especially for someone who doesn't use a calendar. But the blocks that are constant on here are things like miracle morning, 50 burpees every single day, getting ready. I know that sounds silly, but I put getting ready on my calendar.
block.
And I don't always get ready right at 6 a.m., right? It's not. And then I sit down at my desk before the kids wake up and I do my Ninja 9. That usually takes me about 20 minutes, really fast. Family time, breakfast. My phone goes on do not disturb during these times every day. And I have that set. I always listen to a podcast on the way to the office, study the market every single day, have a power hour of new phone calls, follow up time. I do social media content 2 days a week. And so that's in here. And see, like on this day, I had to move it because I had something here. Lunch I have to put on here, you guys, or I don't eat. So again, this is a little much probably. And then I think what is key here is that every single day I am in the office or doing admin things in the morning. I don't do appointments in the morning. I don't do, unless I have to, I don't do showings in the morning, and I have an appointment block in the afternoon, and I try to stick to that as best as I can. Like on this day, I had showings on Monday. So Hannah had to pick up my son from school. I post my social media content for the day. I pick up my other 2 kids. We have family time. I have time with Glenn on here, and then it's bedtime. So this is probably a little too much, especially if you're just starting out in the calendaring world. But this runs my life. Essentially, I run off of my calendar. I put deadlines on here as best I can. I put birthdays on here. I mean, it's just, again, it's a tool to manage my life.
That's it. And it's how it all gets done.
Yeah.
Melissa, what's going on through your
Yes.
head right now?
I'm kind of just like reading like section by section. So literally when I see the overlaps on that, that throws me into like anxiety panic attack all of a sudden because I'm like, oh my God, what am I missing? What am I forgetting?
Yeah.
So that, yep.
So Melissa,
I
find
think-
your combination of the
Yeah.
schedule and the to-do list, but that Sunday planning the night before, the reviewing the day, the next day, it doesn't have to look like this. For me, this brings me, I smile because mine that looks as chaotic as this for different reasons. I've showed you, it brings me calmness and joy knowing that all I have to do is follow that. And there's always bumps in the road, right? There's kids, there's family, there's spouses, there's all of you and the other clients. Okay, but now we can play Tetris. And that's the game I've always played with myself. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. You guys know me by now. I'm going to enjoy it. This is tedious, but man, I'm playing Tetris all day long, all week long with my, I love that. That's fun. And that gamifies it for me. You have to find that balance of what works for you. Do you guys remember, who remembers the Palm Pilot? I know there's some of you that will. Okay, cool. So who remembers the BlackBerry then? Okay, and who
I have
knows
an agent in
about,
my office who still use one.
I love it. I love it. And who knows the at a glance where you get all 7 days in the book in 7 columns. That's Google now, right? I went back and forth with the book, the Palm Pilot, the book, the BlackBerry, the book, maybe an iPhone in there. I don't remember. Back and forth 5, 6, 7 years before I really figured out my schedule of choice and way I really wanted to do it. But there was always an iteration of it, Melissa. There is always an iteration that grows to the next level. So get it out of your head, I think, is the number one task. Get most of it somewhere you can see it tangible, big 12-foot whiteboard, the at a glance folder, the Google Calendar, whatever that is for you. And then lastly, I would say that one yellow pad or that one to-do list where all the stuff goes. So when admin time does show up, you work off your to-do list and you prioritize that. That's different than a calendar, right? There are things, and I know Kelly and I've talked about this, admin time sometimes can be 30 minutes, sometimes can be an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on the day. And then cut to, here's the 22 things on the to-do list and the 4 that need to be done first, second, third, and fourth.
I think when you're starting off too, and you want the intention is you want to be more organized, you want to, run your business this way and be a little bit more effective. The things you have to get on there, whether you do them or not, is a morning routine, eating breakfast. I always say a podcast. I used to tell the team, you need to listen to a podcast or a news feed every day. Admin time, lunch time, appointment time, personal time. 7 things that you just have to put on there and make repeated blocks. And then you can start to move them around. Or maybe you find you don't want to listen to a podcast and you delete it. But the intention is to put the blocks there and then schedule those activities during those times. And then you can add and subtract onto it. But starting with basic blocks that you are kind of non-negotiable items, really.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I made another note here. We talked about having the marketing in your schedule. One of my old coaches, Christina Banaga, big shout out to her. I showed her my schedule one day. I go, I want to do more, Melissa. I want to be able to figure out more. And I turned my schedule on around to her, and it showed 30 minutes on of work, a break, 30 minutes. Like I was running in 30-minute segments, and coaching was part of those, but then a white spot in 30 minutes and a white spot. And then she turned her schedule around to me, and I saw Kelly's schedule for the first time, right? That it was the same thing. And I learned this term, no white spots in the schedule. I am working. We are moving things forward. There's no rest. You get 30 to 90 minutes for lunch, depending on what we're doing, but we're here to get shit done. And so the white spaces went away and the productivity went through the roof. I am at work. Now, if you are on playtime, be on playtime. I got nothing for you. Go enjoy, be present. But if it's our work time, let's boogie and let's fill the schedule with things that are moving the ball forward. So that was something I learned from my coach. That term really impacted me. Really impacted me. I'll also write down here, guys, we all put an annual plan together, and something I want to talk more about this year is turning that into the 90-day plan, the quarterly plan, and breaking that down into the 30-day plan. When we can do that, then that 30-day plan, those everyday things, those activities we need to do are now pointed in something that's ending in 30 days, not 12 months. And when we shorten the time frame like that, the focus gets so solid. We're daily taking actions for the 30-day goal that we might not be taking if it's way out in the future because we have a lot more time. When we can condense it and say, hey, we need 7 under contract this month, let's go, we take better actions. So consider looking at that annual plan from the 90-day point of view, from the 30-day point of view, that adds to the schedule with those additional time blocks and things to do.
Right. That's interesting. I used to have an EA in the past
Yeah.
with the team, and we would do this. We would set quarterly goals, and she would get a bonus when we hit certain things. And so I said to myself, why don't I get a bonus when I started this again myself? I'm like, why don't I do that too? And say, hey, if I get this certain GCI, or if I hit this number of social media posts this quarter, or send out this many mailers, or go on this many appointments, or make this many phone calls, I get a bonus for this quarter. And if I don't do it, we don't schedule that ski trip, or I don't get to go have a facial laser that I want to have next quarter. And so why don't we do that for ourselves? I think
Awesome.
is a big, powerful thing too.
That's a great reminder, and not always the stick, the carrot and the stick. What happens when we do and what doesn't happen if we don't. If you put a ski vacation or a Disney vacation on it, then tell your kids. And you don't need me for accountability after that, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Right, Mommy, did you make your calls today? That's awesome. That's awesome. Lisa knows the power of that one.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, big time. Get the family involved. Okay, and then 2 other thoughts. And then guys, if you have anything else, decide when you're not going to work. I think that's really important. What days am I not working? And listen, you tell me 365, 7 days a week, get out of here. No, you're not. That's not how we roll around here. You got to sharpen the axe. You need time off. I know you're awesome, but 24/7, 365. Not here, not us. So you need to know when you're off work, and something I've talked about with a lot of you I know, but I don't think I've said it publicly. You know, the big at a glance schedules, those big wall calendars, those laminated ones. Get one of those. Go get 4 or 5 of your favorite expo markers. What's my time off? What's my family time off? What's my business travel time off? What are our doctor appointments and family birthdays off? What's left? All the blank spots now are my working days. Am I taking weekends off? Am I taking a day off a week, a weekend off a month, a week off a quarter? It's a really good strategy, by the way. What is the I'm not working? And you all are looking at me like we sell real estate, coach. I know. I don't care. What days aren't you working? Melissa almost throat punched me a couple times through the through the computer for this one, and then she sends me pictures of the beautiful place in Cabo she's at, and she's fine, right? I know it works, but we need to plan for this stuff, guys. So that exercise, if you want to have some fun and really want accountability, bring your spouse into it, bring your kids into that planning of the year and the time off. They don't care about how much time you work. They want the time off with you. Plan it out together. It's a wonderful exercise. And then lastly, if you're taking notes, you'll like this one. Consider a DAC, whack, mac, and quack. A daily action checklist, a weekly action checklist, a monthly action checklist. Anybody want to guess the quack? God bless you, Tony.
Thank you.
Quarterly.
Quarterly action checklist. These are the things we do every day. These are the things we do every week. These are the things we do every month. These are the things we do every quarter. It's all on one list. It's 4 different lists. It's digital. It's in writing. It's whatever. For non-schedule followers or for schedule followers who don't want all our daily to-dos on there or our weekly to-dos, consider these 4 methods of remembering and not forget. It's like a grocery list, right? It's either repeatable or it's not. The repeatable stuff should be on the list that stays there over and over and over again. We don't need to rewrite those. Same thing with our to-dos on a weekly basis. I don't know why I made a shopping list reference. I haven't made a grocery list in 100 years, but you know what I mean. So that's another way to just compartmentalize and keep tabs on the things you're doing and checking it off as we go. All right, those are my notes. Any other questions, thoughts, ahas? Yes, Krishna.
Yeah, I just wanted to share.
Yes.
New kid on the block, but I wanted to share what Don showed the example. He sent me a video 2 weeks back. I said, Don, I'm missing that thing, you know. And he sent me the video. And really, last 2 years, I kept all the rocks outside the jar. You know, last 3 weeks, I made sure I put all the rocks in the jar first, and it started to settle, at least take a course of action.
I love that.
It's my aha moment of last 2 weeks, and I'm enjoying it.
I got some chills and some goosebumps, Krishna. Thanks for sharing that. That means a lot. You guys, Krishna and I just, what, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? We've spent a
Yeah,
couple hours together. Yeah, maybe. Very proud of you. Congratulations. That's awesome. And guys, that was just the big rock example that really made sense to Krishna. So good. I'm glad that made sense to you.
So you're super lucky that you got Don as your coach.
Yeah.
thank
all
you. Yes.
Yes, we all are.
And
God's
last
doing
2 years, I didn't had a calendar. This year, I'm running myself, putting myself, hey, I'm not going to use my stickies, my papers, this, no. It's all calendar. I'm going to get up in the morning, look at my calendar. That's it.
That's awesome.
That's how. And I put all my year-round planning. Hey, March, where I need to go. I never went to US. So this, I'm going to have 5 US trips, business trips for different conferences. I blocked it. I booked my hotels. That's how difference it made in the last 3 weeks. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't act, but it's time to act. So thank you, Don.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Awesome. Awesome work. Awesome work. Anything else, guys? Going once? Going twice? Kelly, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I would say if you don't have a morning routine, you have to get one. Literally tomorrow, you have to start one.
All right,
It will
so
change your life, I promise.
the mindset component that you keep coming back to is very apparent. I think you all see that. There's a ton of books. Tom talks a lot about mindset, guys. If you have not read The Miracle Morning, or you've read it in the past and you're not following it currently, please get it today. I believe it's chapter 6, if my memory serves me right, that actually talks about the life savers. And if not, it's around chapter 6. Read the whole book. Silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing or journaling. If you don't have the routine that's helping you through the day, I said, what are the best practices for time management? And immediately Kelly says, well, my mindset. Not the at a glance people doing a conference on time blocking. You all know how to time block. But that mindset, it keeps going back to, I encourage you to read, reread, get on a 30-day miracle morning challenge, only 30 days. Don't commit to it for the rest of your life. Don't believe me or Kelly about it. Trust yourself, but do it for 30 days before you dismiss it. It's an incredible process for a very simple morning routine that can be anywhere from 6 minutes to 90 minutes, totally up to you, right? He shares with you how to do this in 6 minutes to get your armor on for the day, even when you don't have time. Heck, you can do most of it in the shower, quite frankly, in 6 minutes. Highly recommend it because it affected my life, just like Kelly has shared with you. So I highly recommend that as well. Great book.
Which version? Is it the one by
The
Hal
original, not the
Elrod
real
or-
estate, not the real estate one, not the network marketing one, not the one for school teachers. It's like a chicken soup for the soul series now. The original Miracle Morning, I recommend the same.
Yeah.
Recommend the same. And the story, the next one for realtors picks up with, what's his name? Michael Mayer. And he wrote a great book called The 7 Levels of Communication. And it takes the characters in that book. Have you ever read that one, Kelly? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Apple and Zoom are doing some cool things with hand motions. I'm learning. Yeah. This is supposed to send the balloons. I don't know. When I try it, I just look like an idiot. It doesn't work. When I don't try it, it happens. It's funny. And they bring those characters into the Miracle Morning story. It's kind of interesting, but if you haven't read that, read the original one. You'll get the message loud and clear. I promise. I promise. I really want the balloons to go up, guys. Never mind. All right. Anything else? I love you guys. Get out of here.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend. I will see most of you, if not all of you, at least one more time before the holiday. Thank you very much, Kelly, for this. This was great. I
Thanks.
have a bunch of notes. I hope you all do. I will render this, throw it on YouTube, and send out a link for everybody. Feel free to share. I'm going to make it public. So share with your team, share with other agents that need to hear this lesson. And let's go sell some houses, guys, as long as it's in the calendar. Have a great
Thanks, Don.
talk to you
Thank
soon.
you,
Take care.
Don.
Hold on one
Kelly.
second.
Thanks.